Most people talk about freedom as if it were a beautiful, almost romantic ideal, something everyone desires and few ever define. But the truth is that freedom has never been popular. It has never been comfortable. And it has never been within reach of those who seek security before responsibility. My name is Thomas, and over the course of life, by observing people, choices, and silences, I've learned that the greatest human fear is not failure. It is autonomy. Because to be free means having no one to blame when things go wrong. Jean-Paul Sartre said that human beings are condemned to be free, not as a gift, but as a burden. Because the moment you realize you are choosing, you also realize you are responsible. And most people do not want to carry that weight. They prefer rules, systems, bosses, routines, anything that can serve as shelter when conscience begins to demand answers. Freedom requires something few people cultivate: inner silence. In a world that rewards noise, distraction, and constant reaction, thinking has become almost a subversive act. Blaise Pascal warned long ago that most human problems arise from our inability to sit quietly, alone, in a room. Freedom begins precisely therein, that space where there is no applause, no validation, no distraction strong enough to hide who you really are. That is why so many people choose predictable lives, not because they are weak, but because predictability anesthetizes. It reduces inner friction. A job without meaning, a routine never questioned, an entire life organized to avoid difficult questions. All of this creates a sense of security that feels like peace, but isn't. It is merely the absence of immediate conflict. Friedrich Nietzsche said that anyone who has a why can endure almost any how. The problem is that most people never define their why, and defining it requires courage. It requires admitting that perhaps you are living below your potential, and that hurts. Freedom always begins with intellectual discomfort, with the breaking of a convenient narrative. To be free is not to do whatever you want. That is impulse. Freedom is sustaining your choices even when no one applauds, even when they cost you relationships, status, or social acceptance. Epictetus, a slave who became a philosopher, said that true freedom is wanting only what depends on you. Simple in appearance, brutal in practice, because it eliminates excuses. Freedom demands a daily price. It requires discipline without an audience, boundaries no one understands, decisions that don't make for pleasant stories at social gatherings. It requires accepting that not everyone will like you when you stop shaping yourself to fit their expectations. And perhaps the most ignored aspect of freedom is solitude. Not physical solitude, but existential solitude. When you think for yourself, you naturally distance yourself from the majority, not out of arrogance, but because of incompatible values. Hannah Arendt said that thinking is a silent dialogue with oneself, and those who avoid this dialogue avoid freedom. Modern society offers endless forms of distraction precisely to prevent this inner encounter. Because a person who thinks is difficult to control, a person who takes responsibility is difficult to manipulate. A free person is inconvenient. That is why most people do not choose freedom. Not because they lack ability, but because they are overly attached to comfort. Comfort asks for little. Freedom asks for everything. One slowly erodes dignity. The other tests character every single day. In the end, there is no neutrality. Everyone pays a price. Either you pay the price of freedom, which hurts at first, or you pay the price of silent submission, which hurts forever. The choice is rarely announced out loud. It happens in small gestures, invisible decisions, and compromises that seem harmless. Freedom is expensive. It always has been. And perhaps that is exactly why it is so rare. Perhaps this reflection was not comfortable. And that is a good sign. If this thought resonated with you, a simple gesture is enough. Leave a like on the video, not for me, but so this idea can reach others who have not yet given up on thinking. If reflections like this speak to you, consider subscribing to the channel. This is a space for those who prefer clarity over noise. I am Thomas, and this was only a thought left in silence. Now tell me in the comments, in which part of your life do you feel you traded freedom for comfort?